Taking the fall, 5 years of my life wasted behind bars, had ground all my hope into dust. My cellmate, an older guy named Joe, gripped my hand tightly on his deathbed, muttering endlessly about his little girl. In this life, she's the one I failed the most. Please, when you get out, just check on her for me. I never promised him I would. But on the day of my release, like a ghost haunting a familiar path, I found myself at the address mentioned in his letters. Inside a shack that looked ready to collapse, a girl, so skinny she was nothing but a pair of giant eyes, was clutching a teddy bear missing a leg, watching me with guarded suspicion. She asked, her voice trembling, "Mister, who are you looking for?" My throat burned. I crouched down, my voice rasping, unrecognizable to my own ears. I'm a friend of your dad's. He sent me to pick you up." The heavy iron gates of the penitentiary clanged shut behind me. That dull, metallic echo was like a sledgehammer shattering the shackles of the last 5 years. The sunlight was blinding. I raised a hand to shield my eyes, my palm rough with calluses and scarred from prison labor. 5 years. Over 1,800 days and nights. I was finally free, yet this freedom felt hollow. My home was long gone. My parents had died in a car wreck the second year I was inside. The woman who had sent me here with her own hands for a payday had likely moved on to bigger and better things. I was now just an ex-con with no family and a dead-end future. I walked aimlessly, my canvas shoes hitting the solid asphalt, but I felt weightless, like I was walking on clouds. Joe's last words kept replaying in my mind. Joe Miller, my cellmate, a middle-aged guy doing 8 years for manslaughter. We slept in adjacent bunks. When he first arrived, he'd cry silently at night, whispering the name Lily. Later, I learned that was his daughter. He was a quiet, sturdy man, not good with words, but his love for that girl was etched into his bones. Every time he got a letter from home, he'd read it word for word, dozens of times like a kid. That weathered face of his would light up with a brilliance I'd never seen elsewhere. "Look, Caleb, my girl's grown taller." He'd hand me the photo, a little girl with pigtails and a missing front tooth, grinning ear to ear. But the good times didn't last. In the 3rd year of my sentence, his wife took all the settlement money and ran off with a trucker, leaving behind the young girl and his elderly mother. From that day on, the light in Joe's eyes went out. He stopped talking. His health deteriorated rapidly. The bitter cold of the prison, combined with a broken heart, hollowed him out. In his final moments, he gripped my hand, his skeletal fingers clamping down like iron vices, his cloudy eyes bloodshot and pleading. "Caleb, brother, I ain't never begged for nothing. I'm begging you for one thing." His breathing sounded like broken bellows, every word a struggle. "My Lily, she's only 7. Her grandma's sick too. If I go, what's going to happen to them? Please, when you get out, help me. Just go see her. Just one look, that's all I ask." I watched his pale lips move, my heart a mess of conflicting emotions. My own future was a black hole. How could I make promises for someone else's life? I stayed silent, neither nodding nor shaking my head. His grip slowly loosened, his gaze unfocused, mumbling unconsciously, "Lily, Daddy's sorry. Shouldn't have brought you into this world." Joe died. He'd died with his eyes open, staring straight at the ceiling as if he could pierce through the concrete to see his daughter far away. The prison gave me $50 in gate money. I clutched the crumpled bills and bought a hot bowl of beef stew at a roadside diner. 5 years. It was the first time I tasted grease and salt. But as the food hit my stomach, it sat there like a stone. Joe's dying wish circled my head like a curse. "Go see her. Just consider it fulfilling a dying father's last wish," a voice inside me whispered. I flagged down a Greyhound heading to the next county. The address in Joe's letters was burned into my memory. Clearwater County, Willow Lane, number 12. The bus rattled along, the scenery outside reversing in a blur. Skyscrapers gave way to low-slung houses and endless fields. The air smelled of mud and grass, the scent of the living world loosening the nerves I'd held tight for 5 years. Clearwater County was more run down than I imagined. Willow Lane was hidden in a shanty town on the edge of the district, the roads muddy and trash-strewn. I trudged through the muck, checking house numbers. Willow Lane 12 wasn't so much a house as a shed patched together with plywood and corrugated metal, leaning crookedly in a corner, looking like a strong wind would flatten it. The door was ajar. I hesitated, then knocked lightly. Thud, thud. No answer. I knocked harder. "Anyone home?" Creak. The wooden door was pulled open a crack. A small head poked out, huge, bright eyes sizing me up, an intruder. It was a girl, severely underweight, her cheeks hollow, making those eyes look enormous. Her hair was dry and messy, and she wore a faded, oversized shirt stained with dirt. She looked like a stray kitten. She looked nothing like the smiling girl in the photo, I remembered. This was Lily Miller. My heart constricted violently, squeezing the breath out of me. Acid rose in my throat, my vision blurring. When I didn't speak, just stared, her suspicion deepened, her small hand gripping the door tighter. "Mister, who are you looking for?" Her voice was timid, hiding a tremor. I crouched down, trying to look less like a convict. What could I say? "Your dad is dead. He was my cellmate. He asked me to check on you." That was too cruel for a child. The words twisted on my tongue. My throat burned, my voice rasping. "I'm a friend of your dad's. He sent me to pick you up." Once the lie was out, there was no taking it back. Lily's eyes went wide, the suspicion instantly replaced by a desperate, joyful disbelief. "My daddy? You saw my daddy?" "Yeah." I nodded, unable to meet her gaze. He went to work in a place really far away. He can't come back just yet. So he asked me to take care of you." "Grandma! Grandma!" Lily suddenly turned and screamed into the shack, her voice cracking with tears and immense joy. "Daddy sent news. Daddy sent someone to get us." An old woman with a head of white hair, leaning on a cane, hobbled out of the dim room. Seeing me, her cloudy eyes flashed with confusion, but when she processed Lily's words, she froze. "You? Is it true? You're a friend of Joe's?" Her voice shook uncontrollably. I forced myself to nod. "Yes, ma'am. My name is Caleb Stone. I worked with Joe. Is he okay? When's he coming back?" The old woman pressed, her hand trembling against the doorframe. I avoided her eyes, speaking low. "He's good. Work is just busy. The company sent him overseas. It might be a few years before he can come back. He asked me to bring you his wages and take care of you." I pulled the crumpled $50 from my pocket, along with the stash I'd saved from prison work, totaling about $100, and shoved it into the old woman's hand. "This? How can we take this?" She clutched the money, tears streaming down her face. "That boy goes away and doesn't send a word. I thought he was." Watching the grandmother and granddaughter weep with joy, my heart felt like it was being pricked by 1,000 needles. I had told a lie that might be ruthlessly exposed in the future. But seeing the smile finally bloom on Lily's face, I felt that maybe I did the right thing. The inside of the shack was simple to the point of destitution. A worn-out wooden bed, a table missing a leg propped up by bricks, and a single pot. That was everything. On the table sat a bowl of watery gruel and a small saucer of black pickles. My heart sank again. This was lunch. "Ma'am, you haven't eaten, have you? Let me take you out for food." I stood up. No, that costs too much." "Grandma, I want a burger." Lily tugged at the old woman's hem, whispering. She looked up, her big eyes full of longing. The old woman looked torn, but finally nodded. I took them to a reasonably clean diner in town and ordered a full spread. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, the works. When the food arrived, Lily's eyes lit up. She carefully picked up a piece of chicken, placing it in her grandmother's bowl first, before taking a piece for herself. She stuffed it into her mouth, eyes squinting in pure satisfaction. "Slow down. No one's going to take it from you." I put some greens on her plate. She looked up and gave me a sweet smile. That smile was like a ray of sun, instantly illuminating the world that had been gray for 5 years. After the meal, I walked them back to the shack. Before I left, Lily held on to the hem of my jacket, looking up to ask, "Uncle Caleb, will you come see me again?" "I will." I patted her dry, straw-like hair. "From now on, I'll be here every day." Leaving Willow Lane, the first thing I did was find a payphone and dial a number I knew by heart. It rang for a long time before someone picked up. "Hello, who is this?" A lazy, familiar female voice answered. "It's me." My voice was calm, without a ripple. Silence on the other end for a few seconds, then a scream. "Caleb, how are you out?" "Vanessa, I'm out. Isn't it time to pay what you owe?" I enunciated every word. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut like an ice pick. That woman was Vanessa White, my ex-fiancée. 5 years ago, she was the accountant at my company. We were discussing marriage. I had even entrusted my life savings to her. But she conspired with the manager at the time to embezzle $500,000 of company funds. When it all came crashing down, she knelt before me, crying like a river, saying she was just confused, begging me to help her this one time. She told me she was pregnant. If she went to jail, what about the baby? Our lives would be ruined. Back then, I was a damn fool. I loved her enough to take the fall for everything. I took the charges alone and got sentenced to 7 years. I thought my sacrifice would buy her safety and our future home. But less than 6 months in, a buddy visiting me broke the news. She aborted the baby, took the money, and ran off with the manager. I gripped the phone, fingernails digging into my palm. The insane plan formed in my mind again. I wasn't going to let this slide. Caleb, what? What do you want? That was years ago. You did your time. We're even. Vanessa's voice was full of panic. Even? You took my money, destroyed my life, and now you say we're even. I curled my lip into a cold sneer. Vanessa, I'm in Clearwater. I'll give you 3 days. Return what belongs to me, with interest. Otherwise, I don't mind going back inside, but this time, I won't be alone. I hung up. I knew she'd be terrified, because I still had a copy of the evidence from the embezzlement years ago. It was my insurance policy, the sword of Damocles hanging over her head. My priority was finding a place for Lily and her grandma. That shack wasn't fit for humans. Using the last of my money, I rented a small one-bedroom apartment in town. It wasn't big, but it kept the wind and rain out. I bought some necessities. After that, my pockets were cleaner than my face. When I went back to pick them up, the old woman was weeping with gratitude, saying thank you over and over. Lily ran around the new home, touching the bed, looking at the table, her smile never fading. Uncle Caleb, are we living here from now on? She ran up to me, face upturned. Yeah, this is our home now. I crouched down and fixed her messy bangs. Then, when Daddy comes back, will he find us? My heart twisted. He will. He knows the address. I lied again. In the days that followed, I began to live like a real father. Every morning, I walked Lily to the nearby elementary school. It was run down, but Lily loved it. She said she couldn't go to school when Grandma was sick. To make ends meet, I found work hauling materials at a construction site. It was exhausting. My bones felt like they were falling apart every evening. But the moment I saw Lily's bright eyes and sweet smile, I felt recharged. Every night, I helped her with homework. Lily was smart. She picked things up quickly. She was just behind because of the missed time. I tutored her patiently, and watching the red check marks multiply on her assignments made me happier than any paycheck. Mrs. Miller's health improved with the stable life. She cooked dinner for us every day, looking at Lily and me with eyes full of warmth and gratitude. This makeshift family actually gave me a warmth I hadn't felt in years. 3 days later, Vanessa called. Her voice was tearful. She said the money was ready and asked to meet at a coffee shop in the city. I took a day off from the site and went alone. In the cafe, Vanessa was dressed to the nines in designer brands, a stark contrast to 5 years ago. But the dark circles under her eyes and her haggard look betrayed her torture over the last few days. She pushed a cashier's check across the table. Caleb, there's $500,000 here. That covers your savings plus compensation. We're even now. Please, don't come looking for me again, okay? She begged. I picked up the check, saying nothing. Mark, Manager Trent treats me well. We're getting married soon. Please, let me go. I looked at her hypocritical face and felt nothing but nausea. Let you go. I laughed coldly. Vanessa, you ruined 5 years of my life. You ruined everything. And now you want me to let you go. Then what do you want? She stood up, agitation spiking her voice. I gave you the money. What else do you want? I want you ruined, I said, spacing out the words. I want you to taste what it's like to fall from the clouds straight into hell. I took the check and walked out, leaving her standing there, blood draining from her face. I didn't hand the evidence to the police immediately. For people like Vanessa, the direct punishment was too easy. I needed her to fall hardest when she was at her highest. With the money, I quit the construction job. I used a portion to lease a small storefront in town and opened a hardware store. In prison, I'd learned repair skills from an old master mechanic. My prices were fair, my work was good, and soon I made a name for myself in the neighborhood. Business stabilized and our lives improved. I bought Lily a new backpack, new clothes. She was happy as a bird. But Mrs. Miller's gaze started to change. Several times, she looked like she wanted to say something, but stopped. Finally, one night, after Lily was asleep, she called me into the living room. Caleb, she sighed. You're a good boy. We owe you so much for everything lately. Lily, she really treats you like a father. My chest tightened. Mom, Don't speak. I know. Mrs. Miller interrupted me. Joe, he's gone, isn't he? I froze, looking at her in shock. Tears welled up in the old woman's cloudy eyes. I know my own son. If he were alive, even if he was at the ends of the earth, he'd find a way to get word to us. No news for this long. I guess a long time ago. Then why did you? For Lily. That child has a hard life. No father, abandoned by her mother. If she knew her dad was gone too, I was afraid she couldn't take it. That lie you told, I know you did it for us. Caleb, thank you. Thank you for giving the child hope. My eyes reddened instantly. Mom, I'm sorry. Silly boy, what do you have to be sorry for? It's us who dragged you down. Mrs. Miller took my hand. Caleb, you're young. You have your own road to walk. We can never repay your kindness. But you can't be tied to us forever. If you meet a good girl, start a family. I shook my head. Ma'am, right now, I just want to raise Lily. In that moment, I meant it. Lily was a beam of light that pulled me out of the abyss. Caring for her, protecting her, had become the most important part of my life. The golden rule. Sometimes, a kind lie supports a person through their darkest hours better than the brutal truth. Days turned into years. The hardware store boomed. I even hired 2 assistants. I bought a 3-bedroom house in town, secondhand, but spacious and bright. We finally had a real home. Lily entered junior high, growing into a graceful young woman. Her grades were excellent, her personality cheerful, but she grew increasingly dependent on me. Her eyes held an emotion I couldn't quite read. She still called me Uncle Caleb, but I knew from Mrs. Miller that in her diary, she sometimes wrote Dad. Meanwhile, I waited for my moment. The moment to destroy Vanessa and Mark Trent completely. Through old contacts, I learned Trent's company was bidding for a massive government project worth millions. He had leveraged everything he owned for this contract. And Vanessa was now his CFO, as well as his fiancée. Their wedding was set for right after the bid results were announced. I smiled. It was the perfect stage. On the day of the bidding, I showed up as a material supplier. When I saw Mark Trent and Vanessa walk arm in arm, beaming and shaking hands, I approached them calmly. Manager Trent, Director White. Long time no see. Their smiles froze instantly. Caleb Stone? What are you doing here? A vicious light flashed in Trent's beady eyes. Why can't I be here? I spread my hands. By the way, congratulations to you both. Good news on the horizon. I came specifically to give you a wedding gift. I slapped a flash drive into Vanessa's hand. Her hand jerked. She nearly dropped it. She stared at me in terror, lips trembling, unable to speak. Inside is a honeymoon surprise I prepared for you. I imagine the IRS and the fraud division will find the contents very interesting. I leaned into her ear, speaking so only the 3 of us could hear. What do you want? Trent shielded Vanessa behind him, growling with false bravado. Simple. I looked at him. Withdraw from this project. Everything you've scammed and stolen from people over the years, spit it all back out. I'm setting up a foundation to help victims like me whose lives you destroyed. Keep dreaming. Really? I smirked. Then I'll see you in court. But I should remind you, the evidence I have is enough to let you and your fiancé spend the rest of your lives together. In a cell. Trent's face went ghastly pale. He stared at me. Then at Vanessa, who was barely standing, his eyes full of struggle and venom. Whispers from the crowd were starting to reach them like needles. Everyone had noticed the confrontation. Finally, Trent looked like all the air had been let out of him. He hung his head. Fine. I agree. I knew I had won. What followed was like tipping over a row of dominoes. Trent's company suffered a capital chain rupture and declared bankruptcy. Because of his history, creditors chased him down. He ended up hiding like a rat. Vanessa, seeing the ship sink, tried to abandon him and run with the last of the cash. Trent caught her. In the struggle, he pushed her down a flight of stairs, critically injuring her. Both ended up in prison for old crimes and new assaults. Karma is a wheel. Using the recovered money, I established the Starlight Foundation, dedicated to job placement for ex-convicts and supporting their minor children. My life seemed to finally return to peace and normalcy. However, I had overlooked one thing. Lily was growing up. On Lily's 18th birthday, Mrs. Miller cooked a huge feast. I gave Lily the latest smartphone she'd been eyeing as a gift. At the table, Lily looked at me, eyes shining. Uncle Caleb, I have a wish. Will you grant it? Name it. If I can do it, it's yours. I smiled. She took a deep breath, mustering immense courage. I don't want to call you uncle anymore. I want to call you Dad. My heart skipped a beat, my hand freezing in midair. Mrs. Miller smiled beside us. Caleb, say yes to the child. We've seen everything you've done all these years. You are her father. Looking at Lily's expectant gaze and Mrs. Miller's relieved smile, I nodded. Okay. That word, Dad, coming from her mouth felt so natural, yet so heavy. I thought we would live happily like this forever. I treated her as a daughter, as kin, giving her everything. Until that day, I accidentally saw her diary. I was helping tidy her room and knocked a locked notebook off the shelf. The lock broke, and the diary lay open on the floor. I meant to close it, but a few lines stabbed my eyes. He bought me a new dress today. His eyes were so gentle, just like looking at a child. But he doesn't know, I stopped wanting to be his child a long time ago. I love him. I don't know when it started. Maybe the day he carried me 5 miles through the snow to the hospital when I had fever. Maybe when he dropped a huge business deal to rush to my parent-teacher conference. Or maybe just because of the lamp he turns on for me every night. But he's my dad. The whole world knows I'm his adopted daughter. This feeling is forbidden. It's wrong. What do I do? My brain buzzed, going blank. I stood there like I'd been struck by lightning, cold all over. Lily. She loved me. How was that possible? I was 15 years older than her. I was her legal guardian. I panicked, snapped the book shut, and stumbled out of her room. In the living room, Mrs. Miller was watching TV with her reading glasses. I looked at her kind profile, my mind a mess. How was I supposed to handle this? I began to deliberately distance myself from Lily. I stopped patting her head affectionately, stopped joking with her. I found excuses to come home late, avoiding being alone with her. Lily noticed the change immediately. She became silent, the smile vanishing from her face. Several times, I saw her eyes red, wanting to ask me something but stopping herself. The atmosphere between us became awkward and oppressive. After her final exams, Lily applied to university far away. The day she got her acceptance letter, she called me into her room and closed the door. You're leaving? I made pointless conversation. Yeah. She looked down, voice quiet. Did you read my diary? My heart thumped. I didn't speak. So you're hiding from me, right? Her voice trembled. You think I'm disgusting, don't you? No. I denied it instantly. Lily, don't think like that. You're a good girl. It's just that our relationship. Relationship? She looked up, eyes brimming with tears. She smiled, a look more painful than crying. What relationship? Foster father and daughter? Caleb, you can lie to others, but can you lie to yourself? You never filed the formal adoption papers. Legally, we are nothing to each other. I was struck dumb by her words. Yes, back then for convenience. I had just registered her residency with the local office under fostered. I never went to the courts to formalize the adoption. Deep down, I always remembered I was looking after her for Joe. I am 18. I'm an adult. I have the right to choose who I love. Lily stepped closer, backing me down. I love you, Caleb. Not a daughter's love for a father, but a woman's love for a man. What about you? Can you say you feel nothing for me? I looked at her tear-streaked face, eyes that looked so much like Joe's, but infinitely brighter, and a storm raged in my heart. Did I have feelings for her? I didn't know. I only knew that seeing her sad made my heart ache. Seeing her smile lit up my world. I couldn't imagine my life without her. Was this love? Lily, you're young. I struggled to speak. This is just temporary dependence, an illusion. When you go to college, see the wider world, meet better guys, you'll understand. I'm not young. She interrupted me passionately. Is me leaving the only way you'll face your own heart? Fine, I'll go. I'll go far away, and I won't come back. She finished, crying as she ran out of the room. That night, we had a huge fight. It was our first fight in 10 years as father and daughter. Mrs. Miller wiped tears away nearby, helpless. In the end, Lily dragged her suitcase onto a train heading far away. I didn't go to see her off. I stood on the balcony, watching her small figure disappear at the end of the lane, my heart feeling like it was being crushed by an invisible hand, hurting so much I couldn't breathe. Did I make a mistake? After Lily left, the house felt cold. Mrs. Miller's health deteriorated rapidly, pining for her granddaughter. Lily rarely called me. When she did contact us, it was through Mrs. Miller. I knew she was still angry. A year later, Mrs. Miller was hospitalized, critical. On her deathbed, she held my hand just like Joe had. Caleb, I never asked you for anything in this life. Just one last thing. She gasped, speaking in broken fragments. Lily, that child, her heart is bitter. You don't hide from her anymore. Both of you are good kids. Don't torture each other. With that, she let go. I handled Mrs. Miller's funeral. Lily rushed back from school, crying her heart out at the service. We didn't say a word to each other the whole time. After the relatives left, we were the only two left in the empty mourning hall. She knelt before her grandmother's portrait, shoulders shaking. I walked over and draped my jacket over her. She turned, looking at me with bloodshot eyes. Are you happy now? You drove away the last family I had. Caleb, you are a coward. Coward. The word was a knife plunging into my heart. Yeah, I was a coward. I was afraid of society's judgment, afraid of the gossip, afraid that acknowledging this feeling would defile Joe's request and the decade of family bonds between Lily and me. But Mrs. Miller's dying words echoed in my ears. Don't torture each other. I looked at Lily, crying like a child, and finally made up my mind. I crouched down, looking straight in her eyes, and said slowly, Lily, I'm sorry. Before, I was wrong. She froze, looking at me through her tears. I shouldn't have hidden from you. Shouldn't have hurt you. I took a deep breath and finally spoke the word suppressed at the bottom of my heart. I love you. Maybe even before you loved me. Lily's eyes widened, disbelief written all over her face. I mean it. I held her cold hands. I love you, not as a father loves a daughter, but as a man loves a woman. I want to spend the rest of my life taking care of you, protecting you, making you the happiest woman in the world. Will you? Give me that chance. Time seemed to stop. Lily looked at me, tears falling like broken pearls. But this time, the corners of her mouth slowly turned up. She threw herself into my arms, hugging me tight, and wailed. I will. I will. I've waited so long for you to say that. I held the treasure I had almost lost, closing my eyes. Joe, big brother, I'm sorry. I might have to break my word. I couldn't stay just her uncle. I became her lover. But please believe me, I will love her and guard her with my life. I will make up for everything I owe you and her. I will make her the happiest woman on earth. The golden rule. When the intent to protect evolves into forbidden love, the cruelest thing isn't the judgment of the world, but pretending we know nothing, letting time slice us apart in silence. Epilogue. 3 years later, Lily and I held our wedding in a small chapel. We didn't invite many people, just our closest friends. As I slipped the ring onto her finger, a man in a black suit appeared silently at the chapel door. He was young, his features somewhat resembling mine, but with a sharper, more intense demeanor. He didn't come inside, just stood far back, watching us with a complex gaze. One of my buddies noticed him and walked over, whispering a few questions. When he returned, his face looked strange. Caleb, that guy says, his name is Lucas Stone. He's your brother. I froze. I didn't have a brother. My parents died in a car accident. I was an only child. After the ceremony, I tracked down the man named Lucas. He handed me a file, a DNA report. I've been looking for you for a long time, bro. Our father. He didn't die in a car crash. My mind went blank. After you went to prison, Mom and Dad were working hard to overturn your case. They found out that Vanessa's lover, Manager Trent, had some serious connections. Just as they were about to get key evidence, they had an accident. I was still in college then. By the time I got the news and rushed back, all I saw were 2 cold bodies. I didn't believe it was an accident. Over the years, I've been investigating in secret while finishing school. I discovered that behind Trent, there's a bigger, darker organization. Their leader is the business tycoon who once ruled everything and suddenly retired, Silas Vane. Silas Vane, the name hit me like thunder. 5 years ago, he was the unchallenged king of the business world in Cloud City. I found out Vane has a fatal weakness. His illegitimate son, lost out there somewhere. He's been searching secretly, and all the clues point to you, Caleb Stone. Lucas looked at me, emphasizing each word. Bro, you're Silas Vane's son. You're taking the fall, and going to prison wasn't a coincidence. Someone didn't want Vane to find you, so they set up the whole scheme to keep you rotting in jail for life. My world shattered in that moment. I wasn't an orphan with no parents. My biological father was the all-powerful Silas Vane, and my foster parents were killed because they were trying to clear my name. I glanced at Lily nearby, smiling brightly with our friends. She was the only light in my life. But now my past was like a massive black hole, threatening to swallow us both. Lucas patted my shoulder. Bro, Vane's old now. He's gravely ill, doesn't have much time left. He wants to see you. And the people who killed Mom and Dad, we have to make them pay blood for blood. This path will be dangerous. What's your choice? On one side, unimaginable wealth and power at my fingertips, but endless conflict, danger, and the duty to avenge my foster parents. On the other, the hard-won, peaceful life with Lily, staying away from the darkness, but maybe never getting justice for my parents. I looked at Lily's radiant smile, then thought of the brutal truth about my foster parents' deaths. My hand clenched into a tight fist. What should I choose? Story complete.